Hello and welcome to another edition of Entertainment Ireland. We have a great show lined up for you this evening. Among my guests will be the Queen of Country and Irish, Margo, who's celebrating 50 years in showbiz. A man, Michael Hanrahan, whose paintings adore the walls of Buckingham Palace, the White House and the Kennedy Library in Boston. Michael Fox will be along with some more interesting new emerging Irish talent. But my first guests hail from America. They're an all-female traditional Irish group called Cherish the Ladies. Well, I'm delighted to be joined by the two founding members of Cherish the Ladies, Joni Madden and Mary Coogan. You're very welcome.
Well,
indeed.
thanks for having us, Henry. It's great to be here in Mayo.
The great part of the world. Now, can we, just for our viewers now, there's 5 years on tour in Ireland at the moment. Can you tell us who the rest of the band are?
Well, yes, well, it's myself and Mary Coogan. We were actually, as you said, the founding members, 29 and a half years together now. And we have Morella Murray from Connemara on the accordion, Kathleen Boyle from Glasgow, from Scotland on the piano and harmony vocals. And we have singing with us is Maura O'Connell on this wonderful DVD that we have. But we also have Liz Knowles on fiddle from Chicago.
Now, you're basically all American, aren't you?
Yeah.
But you come from very Irish background, particularly with your music and that. That's where you got your love for music. Would that be right?
Well, all of our stories are pretty much similar because we all grew up in immigrant households and music was passed down to us. And my father was an All-Ireland champion, accordion, Mary's dad, and all our fathers play music. And we all grew up that it was an important part to pass it down to us and keep the music going. And we got together to do a couple of concerts, and we are still at it 30 years later, almost 30 years later.
Yeah. Now, Joni, the name actually comes from a jig, doesn't it? Cherish the Ladies.
Yes, it was actually the concert series. Mick Maloney from County Limerick, a professor of music in NYU in New York now, he was the one who actually approached us to get together, do a concert series featuring women musicians. Because what he called was a phenomenon. In 1983, a bunch of us Yanks went back to Ireland, myself and Eileen Ivers and a whole slew of us went back and won All Irelands. We brought it back to America. And Mick said, this is the first time, you're all women. We hadn't even realized that we were all young women playing the music. And he said, this is a phenomenon because for years the music had been passed from father to son. So he said, I think we should do a concert in celebration. And I said, well, what are you going to call the concert? Cherish the Ladies.
In America, of course, you go on the road with a much bigger band, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, with about 12 musicians.
Yeah, we always, again, an integral part of the whole show is the dancing. I mean, we've been at it for so long, even to say long before Riverdance or any of that, we've had dancing as a big part of our show. So it's an equal part of everything. But in America, we would have 4 or 5 dancers on every show. Over here, we have 2 or 3, depending. And very honored of who's danced with us on the stage. Practically every big name has been with us. So. And
I know for your 25th anniversary, you have something like 15 albums out.
15 albums.
With Cherish the Ladies. I'll come to the other ones, your solo ones, in a few minutes. But for the 25th anniversary, you did a fantastic Nashville album, didn't you? With Vince Gill and Emmylou Harris and all the greats on it as well.
Well, we got Nancy Griffith and Vince Gill and all the top session musicians from Nashville to join us. It was fantastic to get Vince Gill to sing a song with us. I mean. Yeah. Talk about a dream. I mean, the man has sold 26 million albums, so to get him to sing, but he was saying Donegal. I said, Vince, you got to say Donegal. He said, it don't look like Donegal. I said, you got to say Donegal. Okay.
Great, absolutely great. And then I'm coming to your solo albums now, Joni, because you've something like 20 solo albums for the Tin Whistle. Is that right?
Well, actually, no, I have... Three solo albums and an album with my dad as well. But
nice, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible. I thought maybe I'd sell 10,000 and it just kept going. I've sold over 500,000 now. So.
Wow. And I know you're an expert on the Tin Whistle here. And we have, look, I have to show this to the viewers. We have a collection of tin whistles that you've never seen in your life. Look at that. Why so many tin whistles? Are they all different types?
They're all different keys, from when you're on the road, singers singing different keys. You might have a low voice singer, to a high voice singer, and you have to change up. But each whistle has its unique sound and a timbre, and leave it or not. If I leave one of them home, that's the one I needed.
Right.
So
okay.
I just keep them all in the bag.
Fantastic.
And they travel with us.
That's absolutely brilliant. And you just play the guitar, Mary, is it?
I do, yes.
And some singing and that?
Not really singing. I play
late night
singing, right? And a bit of banjo.
The concert is over.
Banjo when the concert is over, yes.
Well, listen, we're going to get a little taste of yours. You're playing the tin whistle because you have another tin whistle here as well.
One more.
And Mary's going to join you on the guitar. And you're going to do a tune for us live.
But maybe we'll do a little slow air, Manana Heron, and
gorgeous,
maybe go into one little reel. How's that?
Lovely.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, here we go. Absolutely fantastic. That was brilliant. God, you can really play that.
It's all in the air, Henry. You got to have the air. That's the way it works.
Yeah. Johnny, the China trip, ladies, what was that like?
That was incredible. That was very different. I mean, we had 2,000 people a night coming to our concerts. They went mad for the music. And what was amazing is that a lot of our slower tunes are very similar to their tunes. Honest to God, they were they loved the music, they loved the dancing, they really, really enjoyed it. We'll definitely go back. But having Chinese food now, breakfast, lunch and dinner wasn't the easiest.
Too much. Now, you also played the White House as well. It must have been a great experience, was it?
It was a totally great experience. It was a great honor to be there. And
that was in George Bush's
In George W. Bush's
yes.
presidency. And we have to say he was quite gracious.
Oh, he was a lovely man. I mean, he was, some of us wouldn't agree with all of his policies, but I have to say, he was very gracious. He was so kind to our dads. We even brought our fathers, and they played a little tune as well for him. But he was tapping his toe. He went crazy.
You're also involved, Joni, in running your own cruises down the Caribbean as well. You bring an awful lot of the Irish acts out. I have a copy of the flyer here. God, the acts that are on are just incredible. Over 60 musicians, I guess. Yeah, we have everybody from, of course, Cherish the Ladies, and Maura O'Connell's coming, and Tommy Sands, and Don Stiff, the beautiful singer. Yeah. And we've set dancing and waltzing and jiving, and T.R. Dallas is coming, and PJ Murray and Seamus Shannon, Matt Cunningham Band. Yeah. The cruise thing. Great Irish music down the Caribbean.
It's just, you can't have a better time. I mean, it's just a ball. And everybody goes and says, we had Sharon Shannon last year, and she says, God, it was the greatest week of her life.
Lovely. Well, listen, I'm delighted you popped in for a chat here while you were in Ireland. Great to get an opportunity. You've been described as one of the most successful and sought after groups on the Celtic music scene, which I think is a great tribute to you. And we look forward to the 30th anniversary. Who knows, we might have you back here during the 30th anniversary.
Well, you'd be sorry. We know the way now.
You know the way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You'll be sorry, Les. But thanks for talking to us, Henry. And good luck to this wonderful program. And it's great to see an Irish program that really dedicated to Irish music and culture and sport. So congratulations and good luck, and we're thrilled to be a part of it. Yeah, we're going to wrap it up, I guess, with it's the first tune I ever wrote. It's the first tune I ever wrote. Yeah. It's a jig called The Cat's Meow.
Yeah, and there's some great dancing in this.
Oh yeah, we love the crack, and a bit of crack. And
lovely.
Henry, you can do a little dancing with us at the end.
Well, lovely. We'll go out with a bit of crack here now as well. I'll end up dancing with the two ladies here. So once again, thanks to Joni Madden and to Mary Coogan from Cherish the Ladies, and continued success. And I'm looking forward definitely to the 30th anniversary.
Cheers, Henry. Thanks.
Thanks.
Welcome back after the break, folks. Well, as you know, in this part of the programme, every week we take a look at emerging new Irish talents with our entertainment correspondent, Michael Fox. And Michael, 3 more good acts for us this week.
Yes. Good to be back again, Henry. We're going to Dublin for the first one, Colour Sound. A 4-piece band. They met at Music College in Dublin, and they're becoming one of the most talked about bands on the current Irish music scene. They're songwriters, drawing inspiration from all musical genres, combining them to create what has been described as an explosive sound, incorporating happy harmonies, gently jangling guitars and velvet vocals. After years of intensive gigging alongside the likes of Cathy Davey, Villagers and Little Matador, they released their debut single last June.
Okay, and what's it called?
It's called To the Countryside.
To the Countryside, so we wish them well. So here is Colour Sound and their single To the Countryside.
We take you for a ride to the countryside, to the countryside. We take you for a ride to the countryside, to the countryside. And I'll be waiting, and I'll be waiting, and I'll be waiting for you. Tried so hard to find a green, green paradise, green, green paradise, but nowhere else to hide. One thing on my mind is the countryside. Oh, I've had enough. Oh, I've had enough of this.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that piece of music there from an exciting young band there from Dublin called Colour Sound. Right, Michael, we're going to Donegal now for our next
We are
artist.
right to the tip of Donegal, Fanet Head to be precise, and there we meet Anne Biddy. And she plays at venues all around County Donegal. Her real name is Anne McConaughey, but she uses the name Biddy, which is a family nickname apparently. Her musical influences would be Billy Joe Spears and her hero, as she describes him, Merle Haggard. Her first album was entitled Country Music in My Soul and featured their songs. Her second album to date, titled My Songs to You, consists of 10 songs, all of which she's written herself.
Oh, very good.
And she's busy writing songs now for her next album. Very popular lady on the circuit in Donegal. When she's not writing and singing, she works in the pharmacy in Letterkenny.
Right, is it a home business, is it, or just working there?
I'm not sure.
Right, okay, all right. And the song is called I'm Sorry.
I'm Sorry.
I'm Sorry. So here it is from a young talented singer from County Donegal with her new single, I'm Sorry.
I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I lied for causing you heartache, for making you cry. It was not my intention to treat you this way. Forgive me, my darling. Please come back and stay. You gave me your blessing right from the start. Now I repay you by breaking your heart. The laughter we once shared has now gone astray. This is the reason I have to say I'm sorry I sorry I lied for causing you heartache, for making you cry. It was not my intention to treat you this way. Forgive me, my darling, please come back and stay.
Well, we hope you enjoyed Anne Biddy there and her new single, I'm Sorry. Now, Michael, we're going back to Dublin for our final act.
This time we're going to talk about Morrissey and Marshall. Singer-songwriters Darren Morrissey and Greg Marshall were originally part of a five-piece rock and roll band, but they're now playing as an Irish duo with what has been described as gloriously uplifting folk pop songs.
Touch of the Elderly Brothers type stuff?
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because they have been compared to musical joints like Simon and Garfunkel and the Everly Brothers. Sometimes they're likened to old-time wandering minstrels, so they've a couple of sort of labels there. They spent time in London taking part in open mic sessions and doing a bit of busking as well, and gradually the gigs started to come in and they were meeting people who could help them with their musical careers. Their debut album was titled And So It Began, and it's a feast of folk melody and pop harmony. They're rubbing shoulders with the likes of Damien Dempsey. They went on tour with him, and they've also appeared with Sinead O'Connor at the Festival Hall.
Wow, well that's some endorsement anyway. So, and the song is called?
I've Got a Plan.
I've Got a Plan. We have Morrissey and Marshall and their new single called I Got a Plan. Join us after the break when we'll be talking to a banker turned painter whose paintings adore the walls of Buckingham Palace, the White House and the Kennedy Library in Boston. Don't go away.
I hope you listen, 'cause the change will follow suit. I need a hand to make it happen, and the days will be brand new. You gotta stop, take a second, and think just how easy it is to laugh, make everyone laugh. If your eyes shine bright, changes will happen. Raise your hands, let people in. You will find this is how it always should be. When you were young, you didn't worry, but materials can grab hold of you. You want it all, and you can have it. Just believe in yourself and be true. You gotta stop, take a second, think just how easy it is to smile, make everyone smile. If your eyes shine bright, changes will happen. Raise your hands, let people in. You will find this is how it always should be.
Welcome back, folks. Well, my next guest has a very interesting story to tell because he was a banker, spent many years in London, and he came back to take up a banking job in County Kildare, but he gave it all up to follow his passion for painting. Michael Hanrahan, you're very welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much, Henry. It's great to be here.
Lovely to have you. Now, some would say you got out at the right time out of banking the last few years where banking has gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I saw things going downhill, and we'd gone through the Celtic Tiger, and then I saw Bertie Ahern getting out, so I suppose it was a good time. I thought it was a good time to get out myself.
Yes. Now, your paintings are causing quite a stir, not only at home here in Ireland, but in America and in London, because some of your paintings are gracing the walls of the White House, Buckingham Palace, Áras an Uachtaráin, the Kennedy Library in Boston. Some achievement. How long have you been retired now?
I retired in 2006 and came down to Lahinch to live in Lahinch. I got a studio in Ennistimon in the Courthouse Gallery, and I started painting. I always had a great interest in it. And I began to finish paintings and to sell some paintings. And it wasn't very long after that Cunard International got in touch with me. They looked at my website. They were looking for artists for their cruise liners.
Yes.
And they interviewed me and said, we'd like to have you, and would you travel around the world and teach painting? And I do about 3 cruises a year all over the world, very exciting, and it puts me in front of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Now, your first big break then, what we call your big break into painting, when did that come about?
It came about, I was on a cruise liner, the biggest cruise liner in the world, the Queen Mary 2, travelling from India to Dubai, and I heard on Sky News that the Queen was coming to Ireland, a historic visit. And having lived in the UK for 15 years, I knew this was going to be important. And I wrote to Buckingham Palace and I said, I would like to paint some of the scenes. I also contacted the Department of Foreign Affairs in Dublin, and 3 nights before she arrived, I got an email from the Department of Foreign Affairs telling me there was 1,200 journalists covering the visit and 1 artist, and I was the artist.
And why did they select you, do you think?
Well, Henry, it's possible that I was the only one that applied for the position.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. It was shrewd thinking on your part, wasn't it?
Well, it was, and it really has changed my life, because after the visit I came back to my studio, I did 10 paintings, and I wrote to the Queen, and I just said that I'd been appointed by the Department of Foreign Affairs, and I said maybe she'd like to have one of my paintings. I couldn't believe my eyes when 2 weeks later a letter came back saying that the Queen, Her Majesty, would be very pleased to have one of my paintings.
And the one that she selected, this is President McAleese, who was president at the time, and herself, I think it was at the War Memorial, was it?
It was at the Garden of Remembrance in Dublin, a very important moment when she laid a wreath in memory of the patriots who died in the early part of the century. A number of the other paintings were sold in White's Art Auction House in Dublin, and Mary McAleese, I presented one to her, and that's now in Áras an Uachtaráin.
Yes. President Higgins then, on his official state visit to Britain, Michael Higgins, you were asked again to be the official painter on that tour, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I wrote to Áras an Uachtaráin, and I wrote to Buckingham Palace in January, and I just said that as I had painted previous historic state visits, I'd like to do this one. And the Queen very graciously replied quickly and gave me permission to paint the scenes, but she also said that she'd like to see the paintings. So I did 3 paintings. One was the state carriage on the first day in Windsor, the second one was the state banquet, and the third one was Michael D. Higgins speaking at the banquet. And I got them framed beautifully, photographed, wrote back to the palace. I said, these are the 3 paintings you wanted to see. And to my great delight, she wrote back and said she would like to have the horse-drawn carriage procession painting. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go to Buckingham Palace and present that very shortly.
Well, we have a copy of it here. If we can just show it to the people. This is the one you're going to present to Her Majesty the Queen. She took a fancy to this one. It's an exquisite painting, Michael. I suppose you cannot put a value on something like that, really. Sure you can't.
Priceless.
Priceless, absolutely, yeah.
I suppose I tried to capture the colour, the ceremony, the pomp of the occasion. And I also brought in a few tricolours here and here, just to emphasise how important this relationship really is between Britain and Ireland.
Yes. And will she be there, do you think, personally to accept this from
Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, Henry.
Lovely. So that's Buckingham Palace, and the one that's in Áras an Uachtaráin is the one of the Queen and Mary McAleese. Yeah, lovely.
That's right.
So can we go to the next one? What are these ones here now?
Well,
just a letter, of course, as well from
these are the
Buckingham
3
Palace.
Yeah, these are the 3 paintings: the horse-drawn carriage procession, the banquet in St. George's Hall in Windsor Castle. This is where the orchestra were. And this is our President, Michael D. Higgins, speaking at the banquet. The Queen wrote to me on the 14th of July, and in her last sentence she said, perhaps you would consider sending the painting of the horse-drawn carriage procession. Wonderful. Interestingly enough, these 2 paintings have now been snapped up, and This one goes to the United Arab Emirates, and this one goes to London, to 2 collectors who are interested in my work.
Fantastic. Right, and the one that's in Buckingham Palace at the moment now, which one is that now?
That's the Queen and the President in the Garden of Remembrance.
That's the one that's in the collection on Buckingham Palace.
In the Royal Collection.
Now, you're in high circles at the moment, Mike, because you've won now. Tell me about the White House one.
Well, I got a letter from the US-Ireland Alliance shortly after I painted the Queen, and the President of the US Alliance said to me, well, we see in the Irish Times you've painted the Queen. Will you paint our President? And Mr. Obama had been in Ireland, himself and Michelle, in 2011. It was a quick visit. He spoke in Dublin, and he also went to Moneygall.
Yes.
So I was asked to do 2 paintings. One of Moneygall, which was to be auctioned for the George Mitchell Scholarship Fund, and the second painting was a present for the President. Mm-hmm. And 2 months after it was delivered, he wrote to me a beautiful letter, and he sent me a signed photograph by the family of Michelle and Barack Obama. And it's hanging in my studio.
Right. And that painting is in the White House?
It's in the White House.
Great. It's a wonderful thing that you can walk in and say, oh, that's my painting up on the wall there.
Yeah, well, he was very pleased to have it, I think, and it showed him standing outside the College Green speaking. It was the famous Is Féidir Lynn speech.
That's right, yes. Yeah, he spoke a few words in Irish
when he
went to the podium. Now, and of course, then there's the Kennedy connection here, and can we just bring it over a bit here? We'll have a look at it there so people can see it. Because this is you presenting a copy of the painting to Caroline Kennedy, and this is the actual painting you've done. This is in New Ross, isn't it?
New Ross, John F. Kennedy, 1963.
Yes. Yeah.
What happened there, Henry, was I wrote to Caroline Kennedy and I said, I was 12 years of age when my dad took me out on the streets of Dublin to see the President arriving, and I remember it very, very well. I wrote to her and I said, nobody had painted these scenes, I want to paint them. And she said, she got me the archival photographs from the Kennedy Library, and they were sent to me. So I worked from those photographs, and when they were finished, the paintings, I sent them over to the Kennedy Library, and they said, they're great. And I said, would you like to have one? And they said they'd like to have this one here, the JFK in Cork 1963. So Aer Lingus very kindly flew me with the painting to the Kennedy Library last September.
Wow. Nice story, isn't it? Yeah. Now, we have ornament. It's not just all high flyers that you're associating with Mike, because you have a lovely brochure out here, and I love this photograph here. This is the one here of Inisheer. This is a funeral, the old traditional style funeral, isn't it, on Inisheer?
The remains came in off the boat, and the local people in the clothes they wore in those times, in 1969, that was the type of clothing that the ladies and gents wore.
And that tradition lives on?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. And of course the GA asked you, they commissioned you as well, didn't they?
They did, yeah. They invited me to the All-Ireland hurling final in 2010, Kilkenny and Tipperary. It was the match that Lark Corbett, he scored 3 goals, and that's that painting there. So I painted live during the All-Ireland hurling final.
Fantastic, yes. Michael, you've I suppose about 2 years ago you opened your own gallery in Innistyman. How's that been doing for you?
It's been doing very well, particularly in the summertime. We have a lot of visitors, we have a lot of Canadians and Americans, and they're obviously very interested in looking at the work that I've done, particularly with the connection to the royal family and to the White House.
Now, Donald Trump has come on board as well, hasn't he?
That's right. Well, Doonbeg is a golf course just down the road. I'm a keen golfer myself. I play in Lahinch. And I've been in discussions with them for the last couple of years, and they told me that it often happens that people come to Doonbeg. They may not be golfers, but they're very interested in art and the scenery. So I had discussions with Joe Russell, the general manager, and a few months ago I was appointed as the artist in residence at Doonbeg for the Trump organisation.
So what does that actually entail now?
Well, it entailed me getting down there and getting a buggy and getting out on the golf course and setting up an easel and painting some of the beautiful, stunning scenery of Doonbeg.
Right. Now, what else have you coming down the line now in regards to pay? Have you any other commissions now that's...
I have quite a number of commissions, and I have enough material for the next few years. But I'm particularly interested in recording historic moments. that happen around the world. You know, I painted Mandela recently. You know, there was an image of him being released from prison and then he died. I wanted to capture that on canvas. The shake hands of Martin McGuinness and Her Majesty the Queen, those kind of important historical moments.
Well, you were there when that happened, weren't you?
Well, that happened in the north of Ireland,
Yes.
at a private meeting. Yes. But coming from the backgrounds that they both, you know, I think in 50 years' time, they'll be important.
And who's the most person in the world, Michael, that you would like to do a painting of, a portrait of?
Well, I've often thought about that. I'm always trying to think of my next move. And there's a unique situation in Rome at the moment where we now have two popes. We've Pope Francis and Pope Benedict. And I think that has never happened before. I have the material, and that's something that I would like to paint.
And we have enough Irish connections in Rome. That if you can get to Buckingham Palace and the White House, it should be easy now to get to the Vatican.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, and that'll come in time. Now, you also, for people who want to know more about your paintings and that, Michael, you have a website.
I do indeed, Henry. It's www.michaelhanrahan, HANRAHAN, artist.com.
Lovely. Well, continued success and enjoy your trip to Buckingham Palace, and I hope the Queen is there to meet you personally so you're going to present this gorgeous painting to her. And no doubt we'll be hearing a lot more about your work over the coming months and indeed the coming years. And thanks for joining us on the programme today, Michael.
Thank you very much, Henry. Thank you.
Okay, folks, that's it. Don't forget, join us again after the break when my special guest will be the Queen of Country and Irish, Margo, who is celebrating 50 years in showbiz. So you won't want to miss that. Join us after the break. Welcome back, folks, after the break. Well, my very special guest is none other than the Queen of Country and Irish music, Margo, who's celebrating 50 years in showbiz. Margo, you're very welcome indeed.
Thank you, Henry. It's lovely to be here with you.
It's lovely to have you on the show. The book, you finally got round to it, Margo.
Yes, you know,
The
people...
Promise and the Dream.
Promise and the Dream.
Yeah.
And people would always ask me if I was going to write my life story and how it had inspired a lot of people, things that I'd said. But then I found a way, I read a Merle Haggard.
That's where you got your inspiration
from,
from,
I got
wasn't
it from the Merle Haggard
Yeah.
House of Memories. And he didn't mention anybody who'd done him wrong, but he said they'd know who they were. So I sort of took it from there, and I started to write in longhand. I don't type, and I don't use a computer. So I sat down and I started to write, and it was hard. I cried a river writing it, you know, but it helped me as well over sort of periods that I hadn't dealt with, dark periods that I hadn't dealt with, and finally it's here.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go through the book, but we'll go back a bit first. Of course, this year as well has been your 50th anniversary. It's also been a tough year for you, Margo, hasn't it? Because you lost your dearest mother as well.
Yeah, it's been tough. And I lost Mom, and Mom and I for 46 years, we sort of, we raised the family together when I was just coming 17 when Dad died. And I was sort of, when I was at the keynotes, I was with them during school holidays and weekends, and then, you know, it went on from there. And then, of course, just when The Bonny Irish Boy and Dear God was released, just about that day, my father passed away.
You were very close. And I think some of the book, that's the first line of the book, The Promise and the Dream. You promised.
Yes, I promised him the morning that he died. He just got ill, and I put him back to bed, and he asked me to kneel down by the bedside and make him a promise. And I said, what for? And he said, I want you to promise me that you will look after your mother and the children. I remember saying to him, how can I do that? I'm earning 10 shillings a night, 10 shilling note. And he said, oh, I know you will do it. And I idolized him so much that I would have promised him anything, but I never thought for 1 second that he was going to die. And I had made the promise. 2 hours later, he was gone. And I set out to keep the promise. But really, Henry, I carried the promise way beyond what he wanted me to do.
You joined the Keynote. Was that the time you actually joined the Keynote show band?
I joined the Keynotes in '64.
Yeah, you were 13.
I was 13. Yeah. I had
in
come.
fact, we have a photograph of it here with the band. A very young
Yeah,
Margo,
very
13
young. Extremely. And how it came about was in Lent that time there was no dances. The Keynotes got involved in little drama sketches in the local halls, and I would be the fill-in at the interval. I would sing a couple of songs. But the difference of it all was I knew every one of them. They were neighbours.
Right.
And my father and my mother knew them. They were wonderful with me. They looked after me. I was like their little kid sister. So I was safe. I would find myself maybe going out during the week, and I would take my school books with me, and I would do my homework by the light of the bandwagon.
So what age did you finish school then, Margo?
I finished when I was 15.
15, right.
Yeah,
Okay,
I was going to the technical
and
college.
and the band then became popular. You had your first hit.
Yes.
Margo, your father didn't live to see you enjoy your initial success, your first big hit. Sure.
No, he didn't, and he was a great ballad singer, my father. He gave me the song The Bonny Irish Boy, and on the day of its release, it was to be played at 1:15 on the sponsored programmes that were on up until 3 o'clock. And there was no Maud Cons that time. I couldn't bring him a copy to let him hear it, and he was waiting so hard for that. And he was dead at 11 o'clock.
Sad.
So we held back the release of it then for a couple of weeks, but it sort of launched me, the Bonny Irish Boy and Dear God, and I was with the Keynotes then, and at that point I was starting to get offers from Dublin, and I remember a man who worked for Aer Lingus, but he was a promoter of marquees and dances here and there. John McNally was his name, originally from Longford.
Yes, I remember him, yeah.
And John came to me and he offered me in 1969 £100 a week and a car and driver on the road. And to me and Mum, that was a king's ransom.
Yes, it was that time, yeah.
So
I think it eventually went up to 200, did it?
I did when I got my first #1, What I'll Forgive and I'll Try to Forget. I was able to, they gave me a rise of 100.
Yeah.
So
such
then,
was your popularity, you see.
Yeah, so then the first 100 I lived on, and I sent to my mother, and then I started to save a little bit of the second 100. But
well, you became the main breadwinner for the household.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And believe me, I would do it all again. I just probably would maybe keep a little more for me.
Well, look, I'll just take a little memory trip down memory lane. We're going to play The Bonny Irish Boy, and this is a track from your new DVD, which you recorded in Derry, in the Millennium in Derry.
Yes, on the 21st of March.
And it's brought out to coincide with your 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
So here it is, folks. This is Margo, and a recent recording of that first hit of hers many, many years ago, Bonny Irish Boy.
It's true I loved him dearly, but alas for me he's gone. He's gone out to America. He promised to send for me, but the face of my bonny Irish boy I can no longer see. I paid my passage to New York, and on arrival there, to see if I could find my love, I quickly did prepare. I searched New York and Providence, and Boston all in vain. But the face of my bonny Irish boy was nowhere to be seen.
Well, we hope you enjoy that lovely version of the Bonnie Irish Boy, a great favourite of Margo, of course, as she mentioned. So, Margo, can I go back now? Or sorry, go up to the 70s now, because you're at the height of your career in the 70s, and you were selling records. In fact, you outsold the Beatles during that period
in
with your
Ireland,
records.
quite amazing.
In Ireland, which is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Now, that of course, just at the height of that career, then you had a car crash.
Yes.
And it kind of changed your life a bit,
Yes,
didn't
the
it?
car
It happened in
crash,
Galway,
74,
I think. 74, yeah. And that kind of changed your life.
That absolutely. I was on my way to a carnival in Corofin on between Tuam and Galway on the main road, and a drunk driver drove out of the Trappers Inn, and I was very badly injured. I had broken limbs and head injuries and all that, and for a while I thought, Margo would be no more, sort of thing, that it was over, and I was almost off the road that time for 12 months. And it was during that time with steady visits back to the hospital. There was one day in particular that I got a kind of a bad result when I went into the specialist. And I had never drank. I was a pioneer. And Ryan's Hotel was on the old Dublin Road at the time, and I stayed in an apartment not far from there. Now, I would have gone into Ryan's, I'd have known all the staff, and I would always have asked for an orange juice or a Coke or whatever. But that day I was so down, I remember somebody ordering a vodka and orange. And I couldn't explain to you the look on the barman's face when I ordered it. And I drank that, and it seemed
Ease the pain.
Something happened, and I thought, don't feel too bad, so I ordered another one, and I didn't know that probably at that stage I was
and of
under
course
the
then
influence.
it got out of control then, didn't it?
Totally, yeah. It was my crutch. I had a great fear of the stage. I never got my confidence back after the accident. I loved singing, but I hated show business.
And then something happened when you were on one of your tours in England around that time. You saw a man on the street, on your way through Fulham or something.
Yeah, it was quite amazing.
It's in the book anyway, the story's in the book.
Yeah, it was after I had gone into treatment, and I realised that I was very sensitive as well and took everything very much to heart. But I was in England, I was in the little alleyway. As I walked in, I heard my name being in a loud whisper, said twice. And when I looked over to my left, there was a homeless man on the ground. So I went over, and he was from the west of Ireland, and he said he wanted to come in, but they wouldn't let him in.
Yeah.
Really, he says, all I want to hear you sing is the close of an Irish day. I hadn't sang that song in a long, long time. And I got him in, and he sat up in a little balcony, and afterwards he told me, how much he wanted to get sober and how much he wanted to come home. And
you eventually looked after him, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Until he died. He passed away.
Yeah, I got him into a place over there, and he got sober. He was 6 months sober when he was diagnosed with cancer, and he died, and I was there, and I buried him.
But it had a profound effect on you.
Absolutely.
Because you haven't touched a drink since that.
No, I mean, I'm a long time sober now, but I'm very aware of that. I was one person that should never have lifted the glass.
Yes. But you're here to tell the tale.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, the book, Margo, there's some great stories, and that was just one of many stories. And, of course, there's a lot about your family there, your beloved mother and father in it. And, of course, Daniel's featured. He did a bit of start off his career in your band, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, well, he was going to school, and then he told me he wanted to sing, and I took him into the band, hoping at the time that he would get tired of it, but he didn't, and thankfully he didn't. But it was a rough business, and I and it was at a low ebb that time, and I couldn't visualize my youngest brother, the youngest of the family, going in that road. I knew how hard it was for me. So, but he's been lucky, and I'm very proud that I was the first to introduce my brother, you know. But he's been very lucky with a great bunch of people behind him. I mean, my mistakes, I hope, helped him. I don't see a lot of Daniel anymore. I remember, funnily enough, been talking to Dolly Parton's family out in Nashville when I was doing the album with Dolly, and before she came in, they were all excited, and I thought that was very strange. And her Aunt Dorothy Jo said to me, "Oh, we don't see Dolly much anymore. We lost our Dolly some years ago, and this is a very big day for us." So, and sort of the same way, I never thought that I would actually say that about Daniel, but I know where Dorothy Jo was coming from. I don't see my brother as much anymore, and
well, he has his own life.
Yeah, and he has his own life, so I don't really know what.
Yeah. Margo, we spoke at the beginning there about the promise. You kept the promise. The dreams. Do you think you've lived the dreams? Have all your dreams come true?
The real reason for it being the promise and the dream, I carried out the promise, and I fulfilled it to the very end when my mother passed away. And the dream was that, you know, we as a family would be successful, that we wouldn't fall by the wayside. So I brought the dream, and the dream lives on. I have sort of retired from the music business due to health issues, and Daniel has carried the dream. So the promise has been fulfilled, and the dream is ongoing with my brother. But this year, because of the 50th, I have done maybe about
a few extra ones.
Just to get around.
You've done a few during this month of October now already, and very successful indeed.
Absolutely.
And you have a few other shows coming up in November across the country.
Yes,
I know you're in Bundoran, you're in Carrigan-Shannon, you're in Wexford and places like that. So people to watch out for those shows there as well.
Absolutely, and they'll be special.
And they'll be very special. Now, you have a new album out as well.
I have a compilation of 50 songs for 50 years, 25 Irish, 25 country. And I have that out for the 50 years. But I also, my 50 years starts September. September the 22nd, I started singing 1964.
So we're looking, it's a wonderful, great to see the book out. You finally got around to it, Margo.
I did.
And congratulations once again on your 50 years. And I hope you don't go into too much retirement now.
No, I won't.
And avoid your fans, your many fans all over the world, of your wonderful singing and concerts and touring and all of that. And don't forget, folks, the DVD is out as well, live at the Millennium in Derry City. Wonderful songs on it as well. And in fact, we're going to finish now with another track from the DVD. Margo, this song is a special one of yours.
It's a special song because young Michael English, he has a dedication in the book, and that is another CD that's out for the tour and for the 50 years. He has written a song about me. I sat down with him, and he asked me stories about my life, and it's called A Pocket Full of Dreams, and it's a lovely composition. I just want to say thank you to the likes of you and everybody that has been in my life for such a long time. And it's lovely to come back, and the two of us are not looking so bad.
Okay, on that note, we leave it, folks. We'll take you out with Margo and a track from her new DVD. So until next week, Slán go fóill.
My dad would wait until he heard the key turned in the door. I thought he was so big and strong, but God just didn't give him long. He never got to hear those songs from my pocket full of dreams. Sometimes my dreams would make me stop and fill my heart with pride. Sometimes